Hi everyone, this is Tatiana and I'm here today to show you how I made this little swatch set for my ink colors. I used a Tim Holtz Vignette card file, that's what this wooden box is, and I used a few more of his products and I'm going to show you exactly what I used and how I used them. So to start off, I made each of these cards using the Tim Holtz Bigz die, which is ATC and Corners. And it looks like this, and it comes with little photo corners if you want those too. But you don't have to use this anymore because this was hard to find. It was discontinued, and you know, you would probably have to look for it on eBay if you still wanted this one. It does cut out thicker materials because it's a Bigz die, but for this purpose, all you really need is the new set, Sizzix set, which this one is called Collection. Collector, sorry. And this one has a little envelope in it, and the card that fits inside the envelope is ATC sized. ATC sized is 2.5 by 3.5, and this one happens to have rounded corners. This Bigz die also has rounded corners, and I'm going to show you the difference between this die and the Bigz die. It's really slight. It's not a very big difference at all. The new die, this is the new die. I've cut this piece of black cardstock from the new die, and what I used for all of these was the old die because I obviously didn't have the new die until this week. Now, if I take these two cards that are cut from the new and the old, and I make them flush on the edge and flush on the bottom, you can see, if I hold this close, that there is a very slight difference. It is, I don't even know if that's a millimeter. I'd say it's 0.5 millimeter, and the same on the other side. It's so slight that it's not much of a deal, but there is a difference with the corners, and once again, very, very slight. You probably can't even tell. I'm going to demonstrate just by tracing the two onto a piece of paper. So this is the old die. I'll just trace around the side of it, and I'll put old. And then this is the new die, and I'll just put new. Now, if I hold that up to the camera, let's see if I can get that to focus. There we go. If I hold that up to the camera, you can possibly see that the new one has a this corner, the old one, is a little bit more squared off. This one is a I guess more gradual corner. It's so slight, I mean, it's marginal, so so that's good news. You don't have to go out and buy this unless you want an ATC that's made out of some sort of thick cardboard. Okay, so the second thing that I did was I'm going to take a piece of paper, and I'm going to demonstrate how I made this swatch. It should be fairly obvious, I think, but I'll do it anyway because I haven't swatched the new color of Distress, which is Distress Oxide, and this is Uncharted Mariner, the newest color. And I'll just take one of these, and this one I actually cut from the new die, so it's probably not going to match up perfectly with my other ones, but that's fine. Actually, no, I think I cut this from the old die. I can't quite remember, but it doesn't make much of a difference, as I've said already. So I just hold one of the ones I've already made and hold one of the ones that I haven't done yet, somewhat close together, just to get a feel for how much of the swatch I want to color, which is, I don't know, I guess about 40%. And I'll also explain why I only swatch the oxides in a minute. I'll just write the name on here. I want to make sure I have the right pen. I'm very fussy about my pens. All right. So some of you might say, well, why do you only swatch your oxides? And the reason that I only swatch the oxides is that the oxides are the ones that I use the most of. and I have the most of. I have almost every color. I think I'm missing like 5 colors. So those are the ones that I go to the most often, and those are the ones that I want to have on my desk ready to pull from to make color choices. Now, I have in the past tried to use these cards to swatch all of the different products with each color. So for example, with this card, and this one I was getting started on before I stopped doing this, but I would swatch the Distress Oxide at the top, the Distress Ink, these are the pads, the Distress Oxide pad and the Distress Ink pad at the bottom. And then this was the Archival ink, this was the paint. I would just take my finger and stick it in the paint and kind of do this. And then on the back, I was doing the sprays. I would spray in this case, I guess it was the ink spray because it's at the bottom. As you can see, I made a mess and that's why I gave up on this particular card. With this one, I did carry on and I did the ink spray at the bottom, the oxide spray at the top, and then, I don't know if you can tell, but the glaze is in the middle. It's shiny. Yeah, you can see there it's shiny. So I would take the glaze and I would do a little sample of that. So I had all 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mediums on one card. So if you want to do that, they will all fit on one card and you have a color reference for all of them. But what I was noticing when I was doing this was that they all looked so similar to me that it didn't bother me. I didn't need to have more than the general color. And I know that there are differences, definitely, especially when you start adding water to them. Obviously the oxide, there's colors that are created by it, but it just wasn't important enough to me to want to do all of them on one card. And if I'm honest, one of the other reasons that I didn't continue to do that was because the cards were starting to kind of warpy wiggle a little bit when I was doing the glaze, and I have OCD and I really wanted the cards to just be flat because I kind of like holding them like, and then when they were all warped and wiggled, it just, I don't know, it just, you know, everybody's different, and if you'd prefer to have all of the colors on one card, then you can, and that's a way to do it. I don't remember where I got this plus stamp to be, I think it was one of the newest Tim Holtz stamps, now that I think about it. So anyway, that's how I made all of these cards. And as I said, I have all but 5 colors and they fit really well in here. So these ones aren't even Tim Holtz, these aren't even distress colors. So if you wanted to stretch them out a little bit more, they fit very nicely in the box. There's lots of room. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to put all the colors, let's see where all the colors fit. Well, I don't have 5 of them, but there is room for more in there. All the colors fit in one section. I started doing my other ink pads, and they sit behind my oxide inks, and I haven't finished doing those, but it's a great color reference. And I used to have them all on a ring, like a lot of people do, but there was something about that ring that made me not want to take the cards off the ring. There was just some metaphysical force that was pushing me away from the ring, and I just find this system much easier because if I want a color, I just go in and then I can lay them quickly down. You know, another thing about the ring is that you would take them off the ring. I had them all color coded in Roy G. Biv order, and then when it was time to put them back on the ring, you had to, I mean, I know it sounds really lazy, but there's some work involved. You had to go through and figure out which color went where, and for some reason when it's in this little box, it's just so much easier. You can just throw them down and then you can put all the colors together, and then when it's time to put them back, you don't even have to sort them if you don't want to, but I'm doing it very generally now, but you just put them back and then right back in the box, easy. And I think it looks nice, and I guess those are all the advantages of it. So anyway, and another thing I wanted to mention was that if you haven't swatched out your colors, it's a really good idea to do so, because I'm just trying to find this set of colors that I had here that, like, when you see them in their ink pads on the desk, they may look like, there's a color swatch on the front of the ink pad, that tells you what color it is, but you really need to get them onto paper to be able to see the actual, oh, I think here's the one I was talking about. Yeah. So here's a good example that I thought I would point out. These two colors in the ink pad look so similar to each other, but when you get them onto whatever cardstock it is that you want to swatch them on, there's slight differences. For example, this Lawn Fawn jellyfish, which a lot of people use to do no-line coloring, in the ink pad looked very similar to the Sukaneko Brilliance, but of course it's called Brilliance because it's got a little bit of a sparkly metallic sheen, I guess you would say. So that's just an example of why it's great to have your swatches sitting right there in a box on your desk so that you aren't surprised when you go to use them and do something with them and they're not exactly what you expected. Now the second thing I want to show you is how I created the little label at the front, which keeps popping up because I'm moving this box around. But at first I used this set, which as I said is called Collector, and I cut out this label right here, which looks larger in real life because it's not to size on the packaging. And this label is too small for this, because when you put it in, it sinks down and you can see the wood behind it. So that one didn't work. And then, let me just get the package here. I tried using this set, which is Vintage Labels, and it's the new set that came out. And this one, I believe, is the middle one right here. And this one works perfectly. And not only does it fit the box's little label holder perfectly, it also, as you probably know by now, embosses the label so that it has this really nice, there's actually 1, 2, 3 different raised areas in that label. And it just, you know, it just looks a little bit nicer. And so as for the letters, the set that I used for the letters was this one. And this one is called Specimen. And the Specimen set has this little set of labels, which you can, which I did cut out. Let me just move everything aside so you can see clearly. I cut them out of, this is Nina Solar White 110-pound cardstock, and it's so nice and thick that they almost all stayed in the cardstock after being removed from the machine. So it makes it really easy if you want to just add a little glue to the back side and then use your pick-me-up tool to kind of sort of pull them out and then just stick them right down onto the label. To be honest, it was a little bit harder. It wasn't as easy as I'm making it sound, but I did use tweezers because these are pretty small letters. And I use fine line red top glue, and it's got a precision tip. So any glue you have, I think the Barely Art glue also has a precision tip, and a lot of people just put precision tips on their glue bottle that you can buy. It has a really, and what I did was I just squeezed a little bit of glue out onto a piece of paper, and then I just poked the letter out onto my finger, grabbed the tweezers. I didn't use the letter R, but this is how I did it. It's so tiny, you know, and I just wiped it in the glue, basically, just enough to get some on it, and then I just placed it on the label and with my fingernail and just held it there. And it doesn't matter with most of these glues if you get some glue spillage over the side, because it just disappears. And I can confirm that because I definitely did get glue spillage on these, and you can't see it at all now that it's dry. So that's how I did it. And oh, and the other thing was, I just wanted to mention that this W, as you can see, looks a little slightly bit wonky, and that's because there isn't a W in this letter selection. But so what I did was I took two, these are the letter V. Oh, here we go. Those are the letter V. And I didn't use the letter V, to be honest with you. I used the letter A because the letter V is just a little bit more fat in the crevice than the letter A is. So I cut out 2 letter A's, and then I used my scissors to cut out this. I can't get this to focus. Let's move everything else out of the way. There we go. I used my scissors to cut out a little bit out of the A, you know, the horizontal line that goes across. I just cut that out, and I did that twice. And then I just took my, I did what I was doing before. I took my tweezers and I grabbed the letter V and dipped it in some glue. And then I just held the other letter V, or A, sorry, it was A that I was using. And I just put it on top and held it with my fingers for a few seconds. And I had a letter W. I'm not, you know, doing it the actual procedure here, but that's how I did it. And I think it turned out really cute. It looks really sweet in here, and it's very functional. I love making projects that are functional. I mean, it's fun to make things that are art for art's sake, and I like that too, definitely. But it's really fun to make something that is functional that you're going to use every day. So thanks for watching. I thought I would share that with you, and stay tuned and subscribe for more ideas that I'll be using. These new sets that I got. I'm super excited to have them by the time the live came out. That was like a game changer for me, because you can take the excitement of the live and just get right to work with them. So anyway, as I said, thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.